So, in case you don't know who Meteorz is, he is, or rather, he was a YouTuber of the Kirby series. What do I mean by was? Well, today is his final day on YouTube due to him having a baby. It is pretty sad, though I guess all things do have to come to an end. It's such a shame, too. Other people thought he'd be able to continue while raising a baby. He even said it himself, maybe it would have been possible, but due to the next real Kirby game being years away of release, aside from Return to Dreamland Deluxe, he'd rather waste the opportunity just to spend time with his child instead of ignore him, which I guess is kinda understandable, but still. So I thought I'd do a quick video of the Kirby series before he leaves, and I decided a Kirby Good to Evil video would be the perfect option. So here it is. And before I forget, I'm only focusing on the mainline games. Maybe I'll do spin-off games included one day, but for now, this is what I'm doing. And earning the gold medal of good is the titular character Kirby. In the original game, King Dedede was so greedy, he wanted to steal all the food in Dreamland. But all the food was eventually rescued thanks to Kirby himself. And from here on out, he's been willing to help people ever since, due to how selfless he is and always in for happiness, even being the cause of some villains redeeming themselves. I've seen a lot of people argue that Kirby should be ranked far lower than this due to his actions in Kirby Squeak Squad just pummeling Dedede out of the disappearance of his cake and not asking Dedede a thing before then. But do you not realize that Kirby is part of the pure good Wikipedia? The same can be said about his anime self, which I'm not counting. People even disrespect Kirby for being tricked by Marx and Magalore. In other words, are you guys trying to ignore Kirby's heroic actions? Because if you're part of this argument, then you should just get lost. And what about the Nightmare situation? People say if Kirby just listened to Dedede and didn't fight him, Nightmare would have never been released in the first place. Okay, that may be true, but the Fountain of Dreams would still be without power, unable to bring good dreams to those who sleep, or in Magalore's words, bring dreams to life. And then there's Dynablade. If Kirby and Dynablade just didn't fight, or rather, if Kirby just opted out with Dynablade, they wouldn't need to fight. But Dynablade didn't give Kirby the chance, because at the start of Dynablade, she attacked first. And if Kirby didn't try to sort it out, there would have still been a crazy bird on the loose capable of destroying Dreamland without even trying. As for Kirby's heroic deeds, as I stated earlier, he returned all the food that Dedede stole, defeated Nightmare, stopping him from spreading his nightmares all across Dreamland, defeated Dark Matter several times, preventing it from possessing other people and taking over their homes, destroyed a few machines so they wouldn't be used for evil, and most recently, prevented 2 planets from colliding due to someone taking over a lot of citizens, animals like creatures and whatever, and so much more. Kirby is always happy to help others out and will always race to the danger to stop any global threats threatening the universe. From one of the earliest characters to one of the new recently ones, Elfilin grabs the silver medal of good. One half effecto Elfilis due to something in a while that we'll get to. He teams up with Kirby to save the Waddle Dees from the Beast Pack. Elfilin is even always so grateful to Kirby for rescuing him whenever he's in danger. Even playing quite a part in the final battle, giving Kirby an advantage against his other half. Even willing to close down a portal between worlds to prevent them from getting destroyed. He and Kirby were both even willing to make peace with the Beast Pack once they were no longer under mind control. He may have taken the gold medal if only he wasn't given the damsel in distress treatment. What do I mean by that? The fact that Elfilin had to be saved by Kirby 3 times in one game. I bet he now knows how Princess Peach feels. The bronze medal of good goes to Bandana Waddle Dee. At first known to be a loyal servant to King Dedede, he would later join Kirby in his adventures to stop any recurring threat that threatens Dreamland or even the entire multiverse if possible. While nowadays more on Kirby's side than King Dedede's, he still respects the king, even convincing King Dedede to join in Kirby 64 of the Crystal Shards. Oh, speaking of which, the Waddle Dee that helped Kirby in said game is actually hinted to be Bandana Waddle Dee before he got his bandana, so even from earlier on he was up to the task. So if any Kirby rep should be the 4th one for Smash, it should be Bandana Waddle Dee. Up next is the first Dark Matter character, Gooey from Kirby's Dream Land 3. Or rather, Kirby's Dream Land 2. Gooey is Kirby's friend who pretty much is a bit of an oddball. Heck, he doesn't even know who he is. But that doesn't stop him from trying to help out whenever he can, wherever he can. The same can possibly be said about the next pick, Ribbon. Once just a regular fairy citizen on planet Ripplestar, it would be taken over by dark matter. The planet's queen trusted her to use the crystal star to remove it. Only for Ribbon to be chased down by dark matter and crashed on planet Popstar, where she met Kirby, who assisted her in helping the crystal shards, along with Addo, Waddle Dee, and Dedede. But not before Ripplestar was taken over. Her allies were still able to comfort her by keep going until it was removed. Even giving Kirby a smooch on his blush as a thank you. Kinda should've thought before she acted though. But aside from that, next is her artistic friend formerly known as Addo in Kirby's Dream Land 3. And no, her name's not Adeline, you uncultured swines. Listen to what Translate has to say.
Adeline.
Did you hear that right? Let me do it again.
Adeline.
You heard that right. Her name is actually pronounced Adeline. Arguments aside, she's still a good friend to Kirby, even helping him and Ribbon save Ripplestar along with Dedede and Waddle Dee. Even assisting Kirby by painting him a 1-up or Maxim tomato. And I mustn't ignore the fact that they're dream friends. Adeline is said to be the only human on Popstar. Yet she doesn't feel lonely. Possibly she just wants to do a lot of arts and crafts for Dreamland. Next up is Meta Knight. Apparently said to be a rival to Kirby, he's actually one of his greatest allies. The reason they fight is because Meta Knight is training Kirby to face the bigger threat that approaches. However, there was one time he was the main antagonist, and that was Revenge of Meta Knight, where he tried to end Dreamland's lazy lifestyle. Even attacking Kirby several times just to get him out of the way. Too bad for Meta Knight, it was all for nothing. Nowadays, he becomes more of a hero than a villain, even flying into the mirror world to protect it, as well as Dreamland. At least this time it wasn't for nothing, except to the fact that he got beaten up by Dark Meta Knight and sealed into the dimensional mirror, and then Dark Meta Knight shattered it apart so Meta Knight couldn't get out. But eventually, Meta Knight... Eventually, Dark Meta Knight disguised as Meta Knight only for the real Meta Knight to alert Kirby. Kirby even gets a hand of Meta Knight by having Meta Knight toss his own sword to him after Dark Meta Knight's defeat so Kirby can face Darkmind. Other times he was useful was assisting Kirby against Magolor, Stardream, and even Void Termina. Not sure why he wanted to become stronger by fighting the greatest warrior in the galaxy, but that's another story. And in Kirby in the Forgotten Land, he was able to resist Fecto Forgo's mind control at will. That's gotta take a lot of power. Meta Knight has been through a lot just like Kirby and will keep going to keep Dreamland safe from harm. Next, I'm going to talk about all 6 animal friends, Rick, Ku, and Nago, Choo-Choo, and Pitch. Basically what they're known for doing is to help Kirby however they can. While the ones from Kirby's Dream Land 3 only appeared for the cleaning copy ability for Kirby Star allies, the ones from Kirby's Dream Land 2 appeared as a 3-in-1 dream friend. Hopefully we'll see more of them in the future. From 6 animals to a bunch, next is the Beast Pack. These guys are basically known trying to catch Elfilin and defeat Kirby. The important members include Gorimondo, Clawroline, King Dedede surprisingly, and gosh does Roar of Dedede hit, Silly Dillo, and of course the leader of them all, Leongar. However, their bad actions were only because they were under mind control, not by their own will. Under Clawroline's lead, they even collected pieces of Leon's soul that Kirby and Elfilin might have missed, thus restoring Leongar to his former glory. Kirby, Elfilin, and the Beast Pack were then friends to live happily ever after. Okay, I just can't resist this. Maybe ranking a bit low to some, but I'm throwing Galactonite in here next. Once upon a time, he was a great warrior feared for his power was too great. Thus, causing him to get sealed away. He had a fight with Meta Knight, and Meta Knight won. Galactonite tried to flee, but it didn't go too well for him, as he pretty much just explodes as his body parts disembody, possibly leading him to get sealed away. Again. Other times he fought Galactonite were in Return to Dreamland, Planet Robobot, and most recently, Super Kirby Clash, now under the name Aeon Hero. The one in Super Kirby Clash is the most interesting, as he has both a light and a dark form. His dark form is what puts him in the good category. Just look at this attack right here. Yep, the same heart spears that were used to seal Void Termina away. If that's not enough, you'll also see a Jamba Heart. This, of course, proves that Galactonite is the first of the 4 heroes of yore. That might explain why he one-shots villains, but never heroes. Finishing the good category is King Dedede. It's pretty hard to call this guy a true villain, and technically, he's not even a true king. As I said earlier, this guy stole all the food in Dreamland. Not some of it, all of it. Aside from being Kirby's most famous rival, that was pretty much the only bad thing he did. The guy certainly has his moments, such as saving Kirby from Queen Sectonia, trying to prevent Nightmare from harming Dreamland, teaming up with Kirby during the Magolor situation, tried to protect Dreamland from the Access Arc along with Meta Knight, despite that leading to his castle getting destroyed and Meta Knight's halberd breaking down, and most recently, buying Kirby enough time to escape from the Beast Pack. Wow, man. He even spends time with his Waddle Dees with care, like playing chess, relaxing over the balcony, even rushing back to help a Waddle Dee before the Beast Pack got to it. While he did start out on the wrong foot, he has certainly more than redeemed himself in my eyes. Speaking of redeemed, next is the redeemed category. These are characters that started off bad but turned over a new leaf by the end of their story, and earning the gold medal of redemption is Magolor. One peaceful day in Dreamland, a mysterious ship known as the Lore Starkadder came crashing down. Kirby, King Dedede, Meta Knight, and Bandana Waddle Dee decided to enter, only to find the cruiser's captain, Magolor. Upon crashing, Magolor Starkadder has been broken into separate pieces. When Kirby offered to help him, this made Magolor take advantage of his kindness. To reward Kirby for fixing his ship, he took him to his home dimension in Halcondra, only to be attacked by a 4-headed dragon, Landia, causing the Starkadder to go down again. Magolor then convinces Kirby and company to attack Landia, only for him to reveal his true colors, and turns out, as I stated earlier, he wasn't as nice as he seemed. Basically doing the same thing Marx did. Trick Kirby into gaining ultimate power. The full story was then revealed. Magolor attacked Landia first and lost, and because he was aware of Kirby, he decided to flee to planet Popstar. And because Kirby helped him in everything, he decided to target Kirby's home first. Kirby and Landia then formed a truce to stop Magolor. After his defeat and return to Dreamland, he made a return in Kirby's Dream Collection and started making amusement arcs to apologize for tricking Kirby. From now on, it seems Magolor only wants to make friends now. Now I'm on to the Silver Medal of Redemption, which is going to Taranza. At the beginning of Triple Deluxe, he's seen trespassing into Castle Dedede only to kidnap him for Queen Sectonia. It wasn't explained why until near the end of the game. The people of the sky were once endangered because of Sectonia, so they sent help from the lower world, specifically Dreamland, in order to bring their hero to save them. However, Taranza was quick to be alerted and was ahead of their actions ahead of time, capturing who he thought was the real hero to get a head start, but they mistook the real hero for King Dedede when it was actually Kirby. It was until after Dedede was defeated when Taranza finally realized that Kirby was the real hero. This makes him call for Sectonia for help. Too bad for him, it wasn't the warm welcome he was expecting, as she just blasts him out of her palace. Being disappointed by it, he forms a truce with King Dedede in order to help Kirby beat Sectonia. However, long before the events, Taranza and Sectonia used to be good friends. It wasn't until Taranza stole the dimensional mirror as a gift for Sectonia that changed her life. Terenza really was never a villain and just wanted to make his queen happy, even if he's still in search for her because of how much he cares. The Bronze Medal of Redemption goes to Susanna Patria Haltman, Susie for short. When Susie was a child, a little incident zapped her into another dimension, causing her father to lose her, and by the time she grew up and returned, he didn't even remember her. That doesn't mean her father didn't find her familiar, as he hired her as a job as his secretary for his company. Susie, in return, tries to stop Kirby several times, either fighting him herself with her mech, using Mechanite, as she mechanized Meta Knight earlier, clones of King Dedede, or Mechanite Plus. All these attempts failed, causing Susie to be dismissed. Going back to when her father didn't remember her, she swiped the helmet off of him and used it herself to see if his memories were there. But little did she know that it would have blown up in her face, which it did. This causes chaos to happen, and Susie didn't want any part of it to happen. So she forms a truce with Kirby and gives him a Robobot armor to stop it from happening, along with a freed Meta Knight. After Kirby scans the halberd and analyzes it, transforming himself into it. Even Susie was surprised. She then believes Kirby can fix the mess, giving him all her remaining trust. Nowadays, as her time as a dream friend, it's stated that she wants to bring back the company. That could be pretty bad. However, the Japanese version states that she wants to do it for happiness, so I consider that a redeeming quality. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but don't try to persuade me. And before I move on to the next category, let me throw in Highness and the Three Mage Sisters as well. A long time ago, the Three Mage Sisters, Franziska, Flamberge, and Zan Partizan, as children, were all in different circumstances in different locations on the verge of perishing. Franziska nearly froze to death in a snowstorm, Flamberge nearly incinerated during an inferno, and Zan Partizan got struck by lightning, nearly drew her last breath from falling from a tower, only for them all to be saved by Highness. Highness was a kind and gentle soul a long time ago, but that changed when darkness consumed him. The darkness that took control of him was so great, it made Highness try to resurrect Void Termina. He was even so crazy during it as he goes through a whole rant revealing loads of hints that may have happened in the past. He probably acted crazy because he is crazy. So crazy, in fact, he even consumed the Three Mage Sisters to restore his own life bar, which didn't help him at all. As a last-ditch effort to bring Void Termina back, he sacrifices himself and the sisters just to finish the Jamba Heart. Then later in the new update, Highness sinks into another dimension. Even worse, an interdimensional Jamba Heart traps him inside until Kirby eventually frees him. If you collect 100 friend hearts in Heroes in Another Dimension, Kirby summons a huge one and uses it on the Three Mage Sisters, restoring them to normal, which in return, they restore the world around them. Kirby then even leaves behind a friend heart for Highness to be restored to his glory. Thus, the four of them could live happily together again. Actually, now that I think about it, it's always in the modern games where characters get restored, like Magolor from Return to Dreamland, Terenza from Kirby Triple Deluxe, possibly Susie from Planet Robobot, the Three Mage Sisters and Highness from Kirby Star Allies, and most recently, the Beast Pack from the Forgotten Land. Anyway, now I'm entering the gray area. People who are kinda in between on their actions, and an easy pick for the gray area would have to be DeRoach. As the leader of the Squeaks and Kirby Squeak Squad, they stole Kirby's cake along with the treasure chest holding Dark Nebula, even sending out his Squeaks to attack Kirby. After Kirby seemed to have got the chest back, DeRoach swipes it right under Kirby's nose, even though he doesn't have one. But when DeRoach opened the chest, all that was in there was corrupting darkness, specifically Dark Nebula, which soon took control of DeRoach, transforming him into Dark DeRoach. As a thank you for defeating Dark Nebula, DeRoach returns the cake he stole to Kirby. He even gives Kirby a hand in Kirby's Squeak Squad redo again. He even gives Kirby a helping hand in Kirby Mass Attack when Necrodia split him into 10. He misses out in the redeem category due to him still being proud to be a thief. Keeping up with mysterious characters, next is Morpho Knight. Commonly seen as a regular orange butterfly flying around Kirby and resting on him after Kirby wins from a battle. However, in Kirby Star Allies, it's revealed that this butterfly isn't a regular butterfly. Instead, it's a knight. Gosh, my tongue's twisting up today, huh? Morpho Knight even returns in Kirby in the Forgotten Land after consuming Soul Forgo. Basically known to spread judgment around Dreamland, who knows what this guy is doing. Not a lot is known about this guy, so therefore, I'll have to move on. I talked about Susie, now I'm gonna talk about her father, Max Prophet Haltman, better known as President Haltman. Everything I said about Susie can be said about this guy. As president of Haltman Works Company, he leads it with pretty much an iron fist, after taking over 2 worlds already, specifically Shiver Star and Egg Engines. Planet Popstar was his 3rd target, which shouldn't have been. After explaining to Kirby about Star Dream, he hops in his mech and attacks Kirby like Susie did, which he suffers the same fate as his daughter did. By the way, his mech was greater and more expensive. As a last-ditch effort to finish Kirby, he activates Star Dream to take him out for good, only for Susie to steal his helmet, making him lose control of himself. The reason he activated Star Dream at all in the beginning, before the events of Planet Robobot, was to bring back Susie after this mother computer experiment going wrong, and he regrets it very greatly, believing that no machine could make such a dream come true. But little did he realize that it actually did come true. So then how come what is wrong with me? So then how come he couldn't recognize Susie? Well, Star Dream removed his memory bit by bit. In fact, in the true arena, every time you attack a pillar, you'll hear Haltman screaming, and as soon as the last pillar is done for, the pause screen description says all of his memories, including his soul, were deleted. In other words, Haltman has ceased to be. That's pretty dark. Speaking of dark, finishing the gray area is Dark Meta Knight. As the secondary antagonist of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, he's shown to split Kirby into 4, seal his Dreamland counterpart into the Dimensional Mirror, and disguising as Meta Knight twice. After his defeat in Amazing Mirror, he returns for revenge in Kirby Triple Deluxe. Some people say he's the cause of Sectonia going mad, and I'm not sure if that's actually true. Are we sure his mind wasn't still corrupted? Yeah, he did appear as a dream friend for his own reasons, which is pretty mysterious. The first 2 in the gray area were mysterious, this guy is as well. Alright, whatever, I'm now in the dark side, the bad and the evil, and who better to start it off than with Marx? This cheeky little jester somehow got the sun and the moon to fight endlessly, day and night, and tricks Kirby into seeking out a giant wish-granting comet galactic nova to get them to stop. Only for Marx to then steal the wish for himself, wanting complete power over planet Popstar. Too bad for him, it only got the sun and the moon to stop fighting and hold Galactic Nova back from planet Popstar, buying Kirby enough time to destroy it and Marx soon after. Twice, apparently. Nowadays, Marx seems to be Kirby's new ally. Well, as long as he's fed. Otherwise, when and if he no longer is, he'll be back to world domination whenever he desires. Therefore, to all those who call Marx a redeemed villain, I honestly disagree. Shadow Kirby was the hardest one to place by far. At first, it seemed like Shadow Kirby was willing to protect the Mirror World like it was said. However, his newest appearance in Kirby Fighters 2 changes the story, referring to him as a naughty shadow. So that possibly hints that Shadow Kirby is pretty much a negative Kirby. His story mode descriptions also state that he's the guardian of the Mirror World, born from the mirror reflecting Kirby's pure soul, and is also said to be pulling a prank of sorts, hence why he doesn't do much in Amazing Mirror. At least I think that's the reason, but it hasn't been 100% confirmed just yet. Next is by far the most famous first boss of the Kirby series, Wispy Woods. In the original Dreamland, Wispy Woods appeared as the first boss trying to stop Kirby recovering all the food that King Dedede stole. Ever since then, he's become a recurring boss ever since, even appearing as a few forms or even other trees replicating him. I'm just focusing on Wispy Woods specifically. Now, one might argue he's trying to protect his forest, and maybe that's true, but given the fact that he always attacks Kirby the minute he looks at him, I'm not sure that's pretty likely. From one recurring boss to another, next up is Kracko. Just like Wispy Woods, in the original game, Kracko tried to stop Kirby retrieving all the food that King Dedede stole. He's also famous for having a younger version of himself by the name of Kracko Jr. Kracko is arguably more vile than Wispy Woods. That doesn't mean Kracko is without emotions. His Kirby Fighters Deluxe pause screen description on Very Hard states, "You, do you think I forget the time you smashed into me with your high jump when I was betrayed by helpers or replaced by a mechanical cloud? There's something in my eye. Smashed in with your high jump, that was adventure. Betrayed by helpers, that was Superstar. Replaced by mechanical cloud, that was Squeak Squad." Kracko remembers all these events. But as long as the clouds remain in the sky in Dreamland, Kracko will never give up fighting. Going back to when I talked about Tyranza, now I'm talking about his love interest, Queen Sectonia. Formerly Tyranza's best friend, thanks to the Dimensional Mirror, she returned power-hungry and to an evil queen. As I stated earlier, she threatened the people of the sky. Failing to beat Kirby herself, she takes Tyranza's advice at playing irony. Tyranza used King Dedede. Sectonia then decided to use the Dream Stalk that led Kirby to her. Thus, she fuses with the Dream Stalk. And if not for King Dedede and Tyranza, she would have won. And if you thought Susie and Haltman's backstory was sad, check out the pause screen description for Soul of Sectonia in Phase 2. She's fed off countless hosts and now cannot remember her true form. A voice called out to help her, but has since fallen silent. Before the night ends, she must be given her eternal beauty sleep. Hinting that Tyranza tried to call out to her, but she was unable to hear him. As for her true form, it's actually not her bee form, or wasp, depending on how you picture it. Her true form actually used to be similar to Tyranza's. But alas, just like Haltman, she is no more. And remember, it was the Dimensional Mirror that influenced Sectonia, so what influenced the Dimensional Mirror? That would be Darkmind. At the beginning of Amazing Mirror, he was threatening the mirror world. His powers left quite an unexpected amount of mind control. Sectonia is no exception. This guy is pretty much a parallel to Nightmare, going from orb to bodily. Please tell me this is my last mistake, because there are 6 more villains after this one. This guy is pretty much a parallel to Nightmare, as Nightmare went from orb to body, Darkmind went from body to orb. And even though Darkmind was defeated, apparently his powers still remained, leaving behind an influence on Sectonia and maybe Dark Meta Knight. Hopefully the problem will be sorted out soon. Another character that goes from body to orb, twice in fact, is Void Termina. Anyone with the title Dark Lord or Destroyer of Worlds is one heck of an evil guy. Void Termina is basically the origin of dark matter, similar to the way Demise is the origin of Ganondorf. As for what dark matter origins this guy has, it has the swords like Dark Matter Swordsman, the elements like Dark Nebula, like ice, fire, and electricity, the same floor from Dark Star, falling drops known as Red Tears, the wings in the bird phase are an obvious reference to Zero 2, and then there's Void Soul. He uses the same smile as Zero 2, he has the needle attack like Miracle Matter, he has the mirrors and laser attacks like Darkmind, he spawns smaller versions of himself like Zero, he does the spinning laser like the real Dark Matter, he does the fireball attack like Drasha and Soul of Sectonia. Yeah, they're not dark matter battles, but I wanted to talk about them just to tick off all the boxes. And how about the fact that he's in Dark Matter's shape? If all of that's still not enough, how about the fact that the final attack is literally named Dark Matter Laser? Even Astrobird Void doesn't just look like Zero, but he also has Zero's Boss Butch background in the splash screen. Really, there's so many Dark Matter references, it's not even funny one bit. However, there's something I'd like to point out that while Astrobird Void is not, this guy is not Zero-3 as a few people may think. I mean, he's white like Zero, the inside of him is red like Zero. However, the Kirby Wikipedia page states that it's not Zero-3, so there you go. As for personality, well, he kinda lacks any. In fact, his Phase 2 pause screen description in the Ultimate Choice states, hatred, obsession, jealousy, greed. The darkness gathered by Highness has transformed into a corrupt power within Void. So its behavior could change depending on whether positive or negative energy is gathered. The Phase 2 description in Soul Melter EX states, Void exists in all dimensions, but in future updates or whatever, would he return as a destroyer of worlds or ally to the stars? But for now, until when and if he does return as a friend, this is where Void's Erminat is gonna stay for the list. Zero and Zero-2 both begin the top 5, or rather the bottom 5. Long ago, Zero found planet Puffstar and threatened to take over it. However, just like Void Termina, it doesn't really have an official personality, even though we do see it create dark matter. And Zero just couldn't beat Kirby in Dreamland or Ripple Star. As for why it holds a bandage above its head though, it's related to the fact that his eye gouged out of its body in Dreamland 3. Can the Kirby series get any darker? In case it wasn't a bad enough dream, missing out in the bottom 3 is the original Kirby villain, Nightmare. Do I really have to say it again? Nightmare spreads nightmares across Dreamland only to be stopped by King Dedede and Kirby. Now keep in mind he's even worse in the anime, but remember, I'm only including the games. Still, like any Kirby baddie, Kirby always wins against them. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to arguably the most mysterious Kirby villain of them all, Dark Matter. Making its debut in Kirby's Dreamland 2, it's shown as a true final boss, for the first time in the Kirby series possibly. Before battling it in the sky, we figure out that it was taking control of King Dedede. As a matter of fact, Dark Matter did so 3 times. At least good.